Hello everyone, it's ShadowSlayerX, and we're here to talk about the year of the Mammoth for Hearthstone. So, I've very quickly glanced over all this stuff, and there's some pretty interesting stuff going on here. So, the new standard format we're getting rid of BlackRock, Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers, and they become wild cards, right? Yeah, and then, so the gist of it's going to be that there's going to be three expansions, full expansions, and the second and third expansion will have adventure formats included. Last year we introduced a new way to play, which introduced Standard and Wild. In order to keep Hearthstone exciting and accessible as more cards are added to Standard, Standard allows players to use the most recently released cards as well as the core, basic, and classic cards. Our overall intention with Standard is to keep the game feeling fresh for all our players and to allow newer players to jump into Hearthstone quickly without collecting lots of cards to build a competitive deck. Standard also gives our developers more freedom when designing new cards for the future. However, over the course of the Year of the Kraken, certain cards in the Classic set have contradicted these goals. When cards show up too frequently in decks and are considered auto-includes, deck building becomes more limited. Deck variety stagnates, potentially interesting build-around cards fall by the wayside, and the gameplay experience begins to feel less dynamic. Most cards should feel like situational additions to a deck, depending on the deck archetype of the player can't read deck the player's trying to build. To help meet our goals, certain cards from the Classic set will become exclusive to the Wild format. These cards will be added to the new Hall of Fame set, which will also include cards that are currently in the Reward set. Yeah. The first three of the 6 cards that will be added to the Hall of Fame set are powerful neutral cards that show up in many decks and reduce the chance of new cards having an impact. This is truer for cards in the 5+ mana cost range because players tend to use fewer of those cards in a deck. So everyone, say goodbye to Azure Drake. 5 mana 4/4, spell damage +1, draw a card. So their quote is, Azure Drake is a strong neutral card that ended up being a bit too versatile, and thus became one of the most played cards in the game. There should be more 5-drop options for players rather than considering Azure Drake as an auto-include. This makes me sad. Oh, my girl. Maybe you'll come back in a different way. It's like Sylvanas Banshee Queen or something. Similar to Azure Drake, it's hard to see a card at the 6 mana cost outvalues Sylvanas. In addition, Sylvanas has the most powerful death rattle effect in the entire game. As a comparison, the Priest card Mind Control costs 10 mana. We have exciting death rattle build-arounds coming soon, and in combination with Sylvanas, they would be too powerful for Standard. Rag. Oh, Raggy. Ragnaros is heavily played in both control and mid-range decks, and even shows up as a finisher in certain types of aggro decks. His high immediate value and strength at the 8 mana cost made the decision during deck building. Yeah, is this 8 mana minion better than Rag? It's true. Is this 8 mana minion the best choice of the deck type? Dozens of cards in the 7 to 9 mana range never saw play because Ragnaros was always an easy choice in that range, and some decks only want to run high cost cards. What are you doing? Shut up, Innkeeper. Now, the next 3 are class cards. Power Overwhelming, losing Power Overwhelming is huge, so I wonder what they're bringing in. Power Overwhelming allows for extremely mana efficient minion trades or high spikes of damage for only 1 mana. Keeping this card exclusive to Wild will prevent some crazy combinations and spike damage. Warlock decks also tend to use lots of classic cards, so the deck changes less when the new expansions release. This change will help increase the variety of cards in Warlock decks over time. Sad to see you go, bud. Ice Lance. Freeze Mage is a fun deck that has been around for over 3 years now, and we'd like to see more variety with Mage decks after each major release. This move allows Freeze Mage to continue existing in Wild while creating more variety in Standard. Ice Lance also prevented us from making powerful spell damage cards and designs that allowed you to duplicate your cards. Well, that's interesting. Ice Lance was also a very high burst damage card, sometimes being a key component of 30 damage combos. Yep. And Conceal. Stealth is a very powerful mechanic and can also be very frustrating to play against. More for some than others. Hearthstone should ultimately be a game of plays and counterplays, and Conceal makes it increasingly more difficult for other classes to interact with rogue minions as time goes on. We considered promoting Gadgets and Auctioneer to Wild instead, but in the end we decided to move Conceal because Auctioneer has proven to be one of the most skill-testing cards in the game. We think the power level of Auctioneer decreases with this change, and games where Auctioneer is played will be a bit more interactive. Okay. Wow. Something they neglect to mention here, which I bet they've talked about in their board reviews and all that crap, but you're not just losing a 5-mana 4/4 spell damage battlecry, it's also one of the best 5-drop dragons. Neutral. Like, are you going to replace a 5-drop dragon, not to go in every deck, but to be for your dragon decks? They already said in Sylvanas that they have exciting Death Rattle stuff they want to push out. Alright, cool. Sounds like they're in their heads that they're building the next meta. Who knows? I can see this. Rag will forever be... Oh, you have 29 out of 30 cards, throw in Rag, right? And then these two... Yeah, I can see Power Overwhelming leaving, because this does limit some design space, like how many charge minions can you put out? Can you put a charge minion out for Warlock? They haven't done it since, right? They just got the one. Ice Lance, I understand. How many times have you died to an Ice Lance that's been buffed to like 6 damage or something, and you get hit with that's only 2, and it's been reduced by Thorson. So for 0 mana, they've just done 12 damage. You know, so and then Conceal speaks for itself. I mean, a good rogue plays it to protect a board, so that they can just set up for the next turn, and then if they have a second Conceal, they're setting up for lethal, right? Usually, or potential lethal. But there is some more interesting stuff. We wanted to allow players to disenchant classic cards that are being added to the Hall of Fame set for full dust refunds, but then felt that incentivizing players to dust their cool wild cards was counter to our goal of making wild awesome. So instead, we're just going to give you the dust, and you can keep the cards. That's awesome. Up to the maximum number of cards you could put in a deck, we will give you the full dust value of any cards you have that are being added to the Hall of Fame set. Yes, that means that if you have at least one Golden Ragnaros, you'll get 3,200 dust. The dust will be automatically awarded upon login once the Year of the Mammoth begins. Alright. And then, so, remember when I mentioned that the first expansion's just going to be a thing, and then expansion 2 and 3 are going to have, like, adventure add-ons in it? Alright. Looking back, we learned a lot in 2016 with the introduction of the Year of the Kraken. One of the things we'd like to put additional focus on for the Year of the Mammoth is having additional deck building options and deck variety in Hearthstone. To help give players additional tools and options to accomplish this, we are changing up the way we handle our release cycle. Previously, a Hearthstone year alternated between expansions and adventures. For the Year of the Mammoth, our release schedule will include a 130 card expansion at the start of the year, a 130 card expansion in the middle of the year, and another 130 card expansion at the end of the year. So, in total, we're getting 390 new cards by the end of the year. Why the change of release cycle? At their core, adventures paint colorful and thematic stories about the Hearthstone universe. Imagine being able to learn about the history and lore behind each of our sets inside the game in a similar way. Defining who the Jade Lotus are through a series of battles between the mean streets of Gadget Zen families would have been a great way to supplement the overall Gadget Zen story arc. That concept is something we would like to do more of in future sets. Take the storytelling and cool missions of adventures and combine them with the card pools of expansions. Cards will be acquired via packs like other expansions in the past. Additionally, each release will include optional single-player missions that will help develop the expansion's thematic narratives and offer fun challenges. So if I had to guess, what they did for Mean Streets, those first 9 wins or whatever that got you all those extra packs, that would be a separate thing, so it doesn't take up your daily slots. So you'll still get all these bonuses while still having your 3 dailies. Excuse me. We'd like to continue being flexible and refine the way we roll out content so it's more enjoyable for all our players. Second expansion of 2017 will be our first step into this new design, and we plan on building on this concept over time. Additional details about our free single-player content will come at a later time. With the cards from Blackrock Mountain, the Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers becoming exclusive to WoW, the Wild format is going to be more exciting than ever before. For our players that enjoy playing in WoW, we'll be supporting it in more ways in 2017. Sometimes after the release of our next expansion, we plan to run a heroic tavern brawl utilizing the Wild format. With so many cards at your disposal, our most passionate and hardcore Hearthstone players and deck builders will be put to the test. We will also be collaborating with third-party tournament organizers to promote additional Hearthstone tournaments using the Wild format. Whether players are dueling in competitive Standard or Wild, we want our community to be excited about all the various ways to play Hearthstone, and we hope additional official support for both formats will help accomplish this. We're super excited about the ever-growing Wild ecosystem, and we're looking for new and interesting ways to continue supporting it in the future. So that's interesting. It doesn't affect most people, but they're right. There's so many cool things you can do with Wild. Like, if someone does eventually come up with the unbeatable deck in Wild, maybe this will be nixed a little bit, right? Because it's like, okay, well, now we have to permanently ban a card. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen in Wild? But Wild will get crazy and good. They'll probably change it. They wouldn't ban a card. They just change it. All right, now this is interesting. This is what everyone's been talking about, for years. Another hero for Rogue. Fireside Gatherings. Do I need to read all about Fireside Gatherings? So what they're talking about here is they're going to just try to do more. That's not it for the Year of the Mammoth. Before the release of our next expansion, we've got a flurry of activity planned to support its launch. Daily login rewards will be available for a limited time, offering Dust, Gold, and expansion packs, as well as a few other surprises in the weeks before launch to blaze a trail for everything our next expansion has to offer. A Warden. Login rewards aren't the only things we'll be offering to players. A new Hearthstone hero approaches the tavern. The new hero, Maieve's Shadow Song, has emerged from the shadows, eager to become a part of your Hearthstone collection after 10,000 years of tolerating bad, you are not prepared jokes from Illidan. Legion beware. Adding this vengeful night elf to your collection will be easier than teaching an old fellhound new tricks. Just win 10 games of Hearthstone. That's it. And that's it. That is all the information about what's going on. Something that's also not mentioned here, if we go back through their site real quick. Where is it? Here's another thing that we can talk about. Alright, so this one's a lot shorter. I'll read this one out too. So, we're continuously looking for ways to refine ranked play experience. One thing we can do immediately to help ranked play experience is to make the overall climb from rank to rank feel like more of an accomplishment once you hit a certain milestone. In order to promote deck experimentation and reduce some of the feelings of ladder anxiety some players may face, I can't read. We're introducing additional ranked play floors. So once a player hits rank 15, 10, or 5, they will no longer be able to D-rank past that rank once it is achieved within a season, similar to existing floors at rank 20 and Legend. For example, when a player reaches rank 15, regardless of how many losses the player accumulates within the season, that player will not D-rank back to 16. We hope this promotes additional deck experimentation between ranks, and that any losses that occur feel less punishing. That's enough to push me. That's enough to push me. Just saying that right now. You got someone, Blizz, and that's me. Alright, and then with the coming update, we'll be making 2 balance changes to the following cards: Small-Time Buccaneer and Spirit Claws. So in case... This is what they're going to look like, the upgraded, or nerfed. So instead of a 1-2, it's now a 1-1, and instead of costing 1 mana, it costs 2 mana. So you can't just prep a Spirit Claws on turn 1 and then go into turn 2. The combination of Small-Time Buccaneer and Patches the Pirate has been showing up too often in the meta. Weapon-utilizing classes have been heavily utilizing this... Stop using the word utilizing. Combination of cards, especially Shaman, and we'd like to see more diversity in the meta overall. Small-Time Buccaneer's health will be reduced to 1 to make it easier for additional classes to remove from the board. You're welcome, Mage and Druid. Even Warlock to a point. Spirit Claws has been notably powerful Shaman weapon at 1 mana. Spirit Claws has been able to capitalize on cards such as Blood Mage Thanos or the Shaman Hero power to provide extremely efficient minion removal on curve. Increasing its mana by 1 will slow down Spirit Claws to curve out as efficiently. Alright. As my friend is chatting with me, I like everything that's going on here. I don't know exactly what Year of the Mammoth is going to ultimately do for us. Not sure. But I am excited. And, yeah. Hope you're excited too. And, I'm more excited for when they start leaking cards. I love that. Even though I don't do the videos as quick as I should, I love it. Alright. I'm in ShadowSlayerX. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. You can tip/donate if you are feeling generous. You can always watch me on Twitch, where I seem to be a lot more often now. But you know what? It's easier to rip stuff off Twitch than prep time for YouTube and then get interrupted during a YouTube thing. If I get interrupted during Twitch, it's just whatever. I just won't use it, and I'll use something later. Because I do get interrupted a lot. So anyway, love you all. See you next time. Peace.